everybody, and welcome to Encounters USA with author Matthew Hines. If you're looking for alien incidents, Bigfoot brouhahas, or dogman dealings, we have the podcast interviews, field research, and field interviews you're gonna love. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and check us out on Patreon. Now, on with the show. Hey everybody, look who I have. I have Mr. Nick Pope, the legend, and he is here for the UFO Summit, and he is going to... Nick, have you presented yet today?
No, I'm going on in a few minutes.
Okay, so we've just got a few minutes to talk to Nick. So, Nick, what do you think of the summit so far?
It's very interesting, and I'm very pleased to be here. A lot of fascinating information being presented, and a lot of great people, my fellow speakers and the audience and the organizers. So, absolutely delighted to be here.
Mm-hmm. So Nick, what is your take on the changing UFO community? You say you've got a lot of new information coming out now. Can you give me some examples of some things that you are seeing in the UFO communities that haven't been there before?
Sure. The most obvious fact is the point that if a little over 2 years ago you'd asked the US government, what's the official line on UFOs? The answer would have come back, there isn't one. No one's interested, no one's investigating.
Yep. Now,
of course, we know about the Pentagon's ATIP program, and in association with that, we have, for example, the 3 videos of US Navy jets chasing UFOs. We know that at least 3 congressional committees are looking into all this, the Armed Services Committee, Homeland Security, and Intelligence. We know that certain senators have received classified briefings on these matters, and the president has gone on the record twice in TV interviews to confirm that A, he has had a meeting on this himself, a briefing, and B, as he put it, our very fine pilots see things which do seem to be a little bit different, and we're watching. Those were the president's words. So we've come a heck of a long way in just over 2 years from the US government isn't doing this to comments from the president, briefings, videos, etc.
Okay, so how does this change your, I don't want to say job, but you come to these things and do presentations. So how does the different attitude by the government affect what you present?
It makes it easier because in a sense, and for the audience too, because no longer are the audience these crazy people who believe in this weird stuff. The audience are those people who were right. And for years when they were saying, look, the government probably knows more about this than it's letting on, there is something to this, I think a lot of people would dismiss that. But now with all this information coming out, they are able to hold their heads up high and say, hey, we were right. So it makes my job a little easier because in a sense I'm pushing at an open door.
Okay, yeah, fantastic answer. And I would just, there's a lot of people that are skeptical, and I have to throw this at you because, Mr. Pope, you are on like every documentary. You are the UFO voice and face and everything. And I think there are people out there that say, well, maybe he's part of it. Maybe he worked for the Ministry of Defense in the UK. Maybe he's part of it. Maybe he's just putting out disinformation. What would you say to people like that?
Well, look, you really can't prove a negative, or it's very, very difficult. So if people want to believe I'm still secretly working for the government, probably very little I can say or do would dissuade them of that view. But all I can say is, look, if that's what people want to believe, fine. I'm not in the business of policing people's views, and nobody should be in that business. Judge me not on so much who I am, though my background, of course, is relevant, but on what I say. Right. And now, it's not as if I'm the only person saying this. So when I say, for example, there is congressional interest in this, and then when we see various senators come out of meetings and say, yeah, I've just had a brief on that, you know, it shows that,
brief.
yeah, a classified brief. So it shows that people don't just have to take my word for any of this. Now, of course, you could believe, well, maybe everyone's in on it. Maybe this is some sort of acclimatization program to get people prepared for disclosure. Again, it's not, but if people want to believe that, good luck to them. But all I'm going to do is carry on in my role as really a broadcaster and a journalist now, and I see myself as a communicator on this issue. So when a story breaks, I might pop up on a TV news program and you know, discuss it for the viewers. So I will continue to do that, and it's certainly an interesting time to be doing all this.
Okay, last question, Mr. Pope, and that is, everybody's talking about disclosure, and you're talking about, well, now they're talking about looking for UFOs. If there is disclosure, doesn't that put guys like you out of a job? I mean, there's no more waiting for disclosure.
Well, first of all, you know, good. I will then go and happily enjoy my retirement, and I'll say, job done. But secondly, mission accomplished. Secondly, it would never be as simple as that, because there would always be follow-up issues. I mean, look, if we get over the question of is it or isn't it, well, then we get into all sorts of supplementary questions like, okay, now we know it's real. Well, who are they? What are they doing? How much has government known about this, and for how long? And do there need to be, for example, almost like truth and reconciliation committees to go back over 70 years of our history with this subject? But the final point is that disclosure isn't, to me, a single event. It's not the archetypal, my fellow Americans, people of the world, we're not alone. Disclosure is a process. It's a series of events, a series of data points, and given that it's not, I think, a single event, one can never really say that it's completely done. There are some important developments that have taken place, and we've discussed some of them. But as I say, this is a process. It's like being on a road. The journey will continue for some time yet.
Okay, so now you've just loaded me up for one more question, and this is the final one. Is there a roadmap to disclosure? Do you know, have you seen something where they're going to release this information at one point, later on they'll release other information until finally people know what's going on? Or are you privy to anything towards this?
I have seen no roadmap of this. I think I can, with a fairly high degree of confidence, predict that there will be more people who've been involved in some of these incidents, some of the pilots, some of the radar operators, some of the government officials. I can confidently predict more of those will come forward and speak out. I can also confidently predict we will, you know, a year or two downstream, we will have much more documentation about all this. But I don't have a roadmap for it. I'm not sure there is one, and ultimately I think this phenomenon is events-led, so it's not necessarily something that one can plan for, at least not down to the level of detail that some might expect or hope.
Fantastic. All right, well, here we have Mr. Nick Pope, former Minister of Defense for the UK.
Well,
not Minister of Defense, Ministry of Defense.
Worked for the ministry, yes.
So it's been really an honor talking to you, Mr. Pope, and thank you for being on. Now, just so you know, we're Encounters USA, and because you're in the US, you know we got Bigfoot, you know we got Dogman. So what we're trying to do is put together information and knowledge that says these are related. So maybe some of the new knowledge, things you'll be looking at, are connections between Bigfoot, aliens, and that's what we're doing up here in the Northwest. And we've got a hunt going on this summer. So it's really exciting stuff. It's really an exciting time. And you're an exciting individual, and I'm so glad to be able to talk to you.
Thank you.
So thank you, Mr. Pope. We'll see you next time, and enjoy your presentation. Can't wait to hear it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for joining us on Encounters USA. Remember, if you have comments, please leave them in the comments section on YouTube and hit that subscribe button and ring that bell while you're at it. Don't forget, if you'd like to be a guest on Encounters USA, just send us an email at encountersusa1@gmail.com and just put podcast guest in the subject line. Now please remember that all of the guests' opinions on Encounters USA are their own, and they do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the podcast host nor the podcast sponsors. So thank you, and don't forget, when you're out in the woods looking for aliens, Bigfoot, or Dogman, always watch your back.